I'll get to the song in a minute and why I picked that song. I always want to play a song before I get up here. They mean a lot to me. I hope they do to you too. I found that one to be very powerful and is always no accidents. I was actually looking for another song and came upon that and just said, well, I'll take a few minutes to listen to it, and really glad I did. I am a Christ follower here for Anger Control and Pride Issues. My name is Digga. Hey, gang. So we're going to talk about gratitude tonight. I've taught this lesson I don't know how many times now. It is my favorite lesson, and I'll explain why here, but I'm not going to say it's the most important lesson, and I always go back to lesson 6, the action lesson, when we consciously choose to commit all of our life and will to Christ's care and control. And the reason that's probably most important to me, it's probably the one that I struggle with the most, that will, if you will, daily. But this is my favorite lesson because nothing puts me in a better place with people or my God, our God, than when I'm in a thankful mood, or if you will, I have an attitude of gratitude or a gratitude attitude, whichever you prefer. It is really tough to have a bad moment or even a bad day if you are grateful. It just does not work. It's the same as when you're happy, it's really hard to be sad, right? For us that are in recovery, this is a really, really key action step. And I'm going to tell you that this is an action step. Remember, Principle 7, we've been talking about a whole bunch of tools, and I'm going to go over Principle 7 and the 4 lessons we've done real quickly. But I don't want anybody to walk out here, well, that's an esoteric, an attitude of gratitude, a gratitude attitude. No, there is practical application. I suspect most of you get down on your knees in the morning and get down on your knees before you go to bed, or somewhere in between. Some of us, more than a few times, need to get down on our knees and praise our God and ask Him for your forgiveness. Add this to that prayer, if you will. Dave always gave us this acrostic: pray, praise, repent, ask, yield. I always throw the praise, and Dave did this too with the praise and thank. Really, really important to thank our Lord for what we have. Now, why did I pick this song? I mean, this song talked about all the big stuff, right? Mercy. Thank Him for His mercy, His grace, His salvation, His forgiveness. I'm not going to talk about any of those big things tonight. I'm going to get down to just nuts and bolts. What's going on in your life? And I'm going to ask you to look at this last year. No coincidence that the gratitude lesson is near Thanksgiving, right? No coincidence that we want to be talking about tools and how we're going to maintain our sobriety and our recovery when we get into the holiday season. And I suspect this holiday season for many people is probably going to be a little bit more complicated and difficult, much like 2020's been. So we've been talking now for 4 lessons. This is going to be lesson 4 tonight. We started off with Principle 7, and we talked about doing an inventory. We were at a crossroads. We remember that? We had the slide up there with the fork in the road, the crossroads. So really important, we started talking about this thing called an inventory, think journal. We talked about how important that is, that we take the time to do a daily inventory, that we evaluate our good and bad. Some of us tend to maybe dwell a little bit more on the negative than the positive. It's really important to remember all the good. Tonight, I heard a bunch of folks get up here and talk. And yeah, there were some we'll call them relapses, maybe some tough moments. By the way, again, none of us are perfect. All right? Lower your expectations a little bit. All right? You're in recovery for a reason. All right? It's going to happen. I always talk to my sponsees, look, this happens. It happens with me. It happens with the pastor. I mean, none of us are perfect. What's really cool, though, is we get up here and we talk about our brokenness. And that's how we heal and how we grow. So we want to make sure we talk about the good as well as the bad. And then we talked about need to make sure that you make a prompt amends or promptly admit you're wrong. So that was that first lesson. 4 lessons in Principle 7. Only Principle 4 has more. 4 lessons. Really important principle. Next, we started talking about inventories, journaling. We talked about the 3 different types, daily, ongoing, and periodic. Remember, take some time, self-introspection, go away every 3 months, maybe January 1st, April 1st we talked about, but take some time to look, whether you've got the mirror, the journal on the mirror like I do, or you're actually journaling in a journal, whatever makes sense, bring that with you, get away, and start looking at those trends, because that's what that's really about. You're trying to identify things that you're doing well and things that you need to work on, and then you come out of that with an action plan. Everything about Celebrate Recovery is action. You are not going to wish away your maladies, your hurts, habits, or hang-ups. It don't work that way. God knows we'd all like to be able to do that, but it takes work. And that's what Principle 7 and Principle 8 are about. All right, next lesson. Tanya taught you all about relapse, talked about how important it is to make sure that you're attuned to what's going on. She talked about a heart check, right? Everybody, Pastor Warren, the heart check, hurting, exhausted, angry, resentful, tense. If you do any one of those 5, any given day, I suspect we were all, we had people up here, I'm up here. And if you look at those things and you even got one, some of us in some days have all 5 going. What a wonderful day that starts out to be. But if you identify that, we've taught you, the recovery program has taught you the tools that you have to work through them. One of the best ways is, and I'm always, proud's not the right word, because some of my sponsees are older than me, but my point is I'm really pleased when they reach out. Guys have a really hard time reaching out. And I'm not saying the women don't. I don't want to, I'm not a woman, so I don't know. But I know guys, because I'm a guy and I think like a guy, we tend not to really do that. How many times I've heard, I was going to reach out, but I didn't. And usually what I tell people, because I know why I don't reach out, because I wanted to sin. Right? Pretty straightforward. Whatever hurt, habit, or hang up I got going, if I decide not to reach out, it's real simple. Again, gang, it's black and white. I've chosen, because I have control over my choices, my decisions, I've chose to sin. That's why I'm in recovery, right? I'm working on it. I'm not perfect. It's gonna keep getting better. It's gonna keep getting better. It's gonna keep getting better. You are gonna continue to grow and heal if you come and you work these tools. All right, tonight we're gonna do the gratitude lesson. Again, my favorite lesson. And the reason it's my favorite lesson, I've already said to you, is I cannot be thankful and be at the same time in a bad place. It just doesn't work. So I simply do this all the time. First thing in the morning, I get up and I get on my knees and I thank God. First thing I do. Throughout the day, I use, again, Dave's acrostic of pray in there, the praise and thank you. I go through that. And then before I go to bed, I get on my knees again and I thank God for the day. Now again, sometimes I have not done what God's expectations are for me, what His purpose is for me, but I still have a lot to be thankful about. And I'm not even talking about the big stuff. I'm saved. I know where I'm going to go when I die. I know He's merciful. I know He's given me grace. I know He forgives me. All the big stuff is there. I'm focused on the daily stuff. Now, again, not that I don't thank Him for dying on the cross for my sins. I do that often. But I'm trying to focus in on the practical right here in front of me. What do I got to be thankful for? Because if I can touch it, smell it, taste it, etc., it really helps me in my growth. And look, here's the bottom line in all of this. Principle 7 and Principle 8. The maintenance, you've all heard this, the maintenance steps. No. The growth steps. If you're stagnating, you ain't growing. You're moving backwards. The only one way to go, forwards or backwards. You can't just stand still. It ain't going to work. So we want to continue to grow. After almost 8 years in the program, I've grown a lot. Still have a long way to go, but I've grown. I heard Dave say that tonight. I heard Jody say that tonight. I can witness to Jody. Jody and I are very close accountability partners. I know many of you out there, and I know you've grown, and you'll continue to grow as you work through Principle 7 and Principle 8. All right, so tonight we're going to do practical application. So hopefully you have What Mercy Did For Me, that was the name of the song. What Mercy Did For Me, featuring Crystal Yates, Micah Taylor, and Joshua Sherman. I think Micah Taylor's in one of the big groups. I think he is. I'm pretty sure he's in one of the big groups. But that was, again, a very powerful song. It reminds us of all the amazing things that he's done for us. But let's go ahead and talk about tonight, specifically on the back of your sheet is a practical application. So we're going to do that. We'll be done in time. But we're going to be flipping a little bit here. So the first part, if you will, if you turn it back to it's not an acrostic tonight, it's just thanked. So the first thing we're going to do is we want to thank God. A lot of things we can thank God for. We've already talked about it. The song had a long list of things that we have to be thankful for. I want you to turn the sheet over, and I want you to write down 2 things that you're personally thankful to God for this past year. Could be a myriad of things. What are you thankful to God for this last year? 2 things. All right, you're gonna see a trend here. Flip it back over. Next, thank you. Thank God for the people He put in our lives, or thank the people in our lives for the people in our lives. I want you to flip this over again. This year, and it can be somebody that's been in your life longer than this year. If they're still in your life, that works. 2 people that you're thankful that God put into your life. 2 people. Now, here's the homework. I want you to tell those 2 people that you're thankful that God put them in your life. Whether that's an email, whether that's being able to look next to somebody out there look at his spouse. That's fine too. I'm thankful for my spouse, but I'm going to look at her and go, I am thankful for you, my love. But I want you to tell those 2 people in some form of communication that you're thankful that God put them in your life. And if you really want to throw a cherry on the top, why? It's a very powerful thing. We did that a couple of years ago in our 12 steps, and it really worked out really well. People were going to each other saying, hey, just wanted to let you know I'm thankful that God put you in my life, and here's why. And it was really pretty cool. And by the way, the women were doing it at the same time, because a woman actually came to me and said she was thankful that I was in her life. I was pretty surprised. Not had many women say that to me in my life. So I immediately went home and told my wife that there is one woman that's thankful that I'm around. All right. Flip it back over. Thankful for your recovery program. Thanks for Celebrate Recovery. Flip it back over. 2 things this year that you're thankful to this program for. So what hurt, habit, or hang up, and I heard some tonight, that you've had some victory over. I'm not saying that you're perfect. Again, we had 2 folks get up here tonight and remind us that They're not perfect too. Thank you again, by the way, Pastor Dave, for reminding me that you're not perfect too. Always makes me feel a little bit better. The pastor's not perfect. Thank God. Two things that this program did for you this year that you're thankful for. Some form of victories. I suspect that most of you have more than two, but at least two. Flip it back over. Thankful to your church. The last one. Bob's looking at me going, Dave. That wasn't me.
Okay.
That wasn't me.
That outfit too.
That's good. All right. Flip it over. Jeez. How do you do this up here? All right. Two things about your church that you're thankful for this past year. I can think of one for Harbor Church, the fact that they opened, the fact that they've stayed open. I know you know there's a lot of churches out there that are not open. Again, I won't give you all the answers. Obviously, I'm thankful for my church. I am a church member, have been since January of 2006, proudly of Open Water Church and the Harbor Church. Got a little confused when we changed the names because I'm a little slow. Love fully, live authentically. I'm getting it. All right. This was a real simple lesson tonight. And it shouldn't be. What's one of the first words that mom and dad taught us when we were kids other than, yes and no? Thank you. There's just something about going up to somebody and please too, and saying thank you. It just goes a really long way. It makes them feel better. It makes us feel better. And when we're talking about us feeling better, is people in Celebrate Recovery, that usually means, at least in my world, my little scenario, when I'm doing pretty well, the people around me are pretty happy about that. Because I'm not, the old hurt people, right? So it's really advantageous for me to be in a good place because I am now right with my Lord and I'm usually right with the people around me. And that's really important in our program. So, if you do not want to relapse, one of the tools that you can continue to use, and it's probably easier than journaling, is learning to say thank you to four things. Thank you to God for all that He's done for you. And again, nothing wrong with throwing in all the big stuff. Mercy, grace, forgiveness, salvation. All really cool things, by the way. Thanking God for the people that He's put in your life. Thank you to this program. And then finally, thank you to your church. And that's a really good transition because we get into Principle 8, we're going to talk about serving, and there's no better place to serve, and you're going to hear me say this in a few weeks, than serving at your church or with your church or at your church and in Celebrate Recovery. So, I hope that we all walk out of here tonight remembering to say thank you, and that's going to help us continue to grow, which is what this program is all about, not stagnate, or worse, go backwards, just over something as simple as saying thank you. Now, take that sheet, put it on your mirror, put it on your refrigerator, put it somewhere handy, put it as part of your journal that you're doing daily, and add to that. Keep adding to that thank you list. And amazing, it's going to be, you'll see how amazing it is that you continue to grow. And like I said, when you have an opportunity to thank somebody, that God put that person into your life, take the opportunity.